Hi there, Courtney here from New Pragmatic. In this video, I'll be walking you through the commands you'll need to utilize version control in your projects. Specifically, I'm talking about utilizing the version control system known as Git. Now, while it's often confused with the cloud-based storage platform of a similar name, GitHub, Git is the version control system we'll use for tracking changes to your projects. Git provides the coordination needed for multiple people to be able to work on the same project at the same time. Without version control systems like Git, digital product development as we know it simply couldn't exist. Now, Git operates on your machine, and later we'll utilize GitHub to push your work to a place where the rest of the world can interact with it. Now, while there are other version control systems, Git is by far the most common, so that's where we're going to spend our time today. Before we jump into the commands, we need to make sure that Git is installed on your machine. Simply type in git space -- version into command line or to PowerShell, and you'll see right away what version of Git you have installed. If you do not have it installed, there are a couple of different ways that you can install it. The first way, if you're on a Windows machine, is by installing Git Bash. Git Bash will simply install Git for Windows and allow you to unlock all the tools necessary to utilize Git on your machine. Otherwise, if you're on a Mac, the easiest thing to do would be to type in xcode select space -- install. Now, when I hit this, I'm going to get a prompt that tells me that I've already installed it, but if you don't have it on your machine, you'll get a pop-up. Authorize that pop-up and it will self-install. Then, when you come back to check it by typing in git -- version, you should get a version that shows up just like this. So with that out of the way, let's walk through some basic commands that you'll be using every day when you're building digital products. Now, the first thing that I want to state is that Git is not a creative endeavor at all. If you can memorize a few steps, Git becomes second nature. This is all about developing muscle memory, and to do that you need practice. So let's begin by creating a new directory for our project. I'm going to go ahead and go into my projects directory, which is in mp/projects. For you, feel free to go to your specific project directory. I'm going to create a new directory using mkdir, and I will call this git rep. So ls, and as you can see, I have blogging files there, and I have git rep. So the thing I want to do now is I want to change directory. I want to cd into git rep so that we can begin focusing on that project. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to initialize this with Git. And what that means is I want Git to pay attention to this particular directory for any changes that are happening. To do this, I'm going to type in git init. And you see that I get a prompt right away that says initialized empty Git repository, and it tells me the pathway. The next thing we need to do is we need to give Git something to watch inside of this directory. We need to initiate a change. So to do this, I'm going to type in touch index.html. This is pretty straightforward. And now, if I want to see if anything has changed about this file, I can type in git status. And as you can see, there's now an untracked file, index.html. Pay attention to any time Git provides feedback to you. While this seems pretty boilerplate to somebody who's been using it a lot, what you'll find is when something does go wrong, the feedback that Git provides is very helpful to diagnosing where the error is. So we have a file that's untracked. We need to add it so that Git will now pay attention to it. And we can do that very simply by typing in git add and then index.html. I can also utilize git add and dot. So git space add space dot, and that would add everything that's changed. But in this case, we have one particular file that we're concerned with. Another thing that I like to do just to confirm that that has been added is I like to go back and check the status again. And as you can see, where previously we had untracked files and index.html was showing up in red, now we have changes to be committed, new file, index.html. Git is providing you with hints of what you need to do next to successfully complete the cycle. We initialize the repo, we add files, and every time we add files, you can do that. You can make multiple additions, but it's very smart to commit early and often, because every time we make a commit in Git, it's basically a timestamp in the project that gives you a point in time that you can roll back to. And to do that, it's very simple. We'll type in git commit -m, and then I'm going to make this one purposely vague. I'm just going to say initial commit. Now, it spit back a lot of information here. The important thing to realize is that at the very bottom, it said 1 file changed, 0 insertions, 0 deletions, create mode, and told you the file that was added. The problem that we have here is that very vague commit message. We don't really know what is inside of this. This could be 50 files. It could be 1 file. As you know by watching this, we only committed index.html. But later, if we wanted to roll back, we would have no idea what was really wrapped up in this first commit. To illustrate this, how this works, I want to go ahead and create a Readme file for this project. So to do that, I'm going to type in touch readme.md, because it's a markdown file, and I will roll back through the steps that we did before. Now, we have 2 commits on the project, and many of your projects will have hundreds of commits by the time that you are done with your portion of that project. When we want to go back and diagnose where a problem happened, there's a very convenient tool that we can use called git log. And git log provides information back to us in a couple of different forms. It first of all gives us a commit number. And this commit number is very useful because that's what we use to roll back, and we'll get into rolling back in another video. The last bit of information is what was in the file. That message really matters. Added Readme file for GitHub. Initial commit. That first one is very vague. I don't know what initial commit really means. The second one is very descriptive. That's the Readme file. So if somebody pushed up a change, and that's another great thing here, we can see the author. So if you're working on a team of multiple people, you can see the author who commits these changes. It's not just going to be your name constantly showing up there. But in that commit message, I can quickly look through with much more fidelity than I could ever glean out of one of these actual commit strings, which is just really a bunch of numbers and letters. So I hope that puts a little extra emphasis on why commit messages are so important. In the next video, we'll continue our usage of Git to connect with GitHub to make your work available to teams far and wide. I'm Courtney with New Pragmatic. Thanks for watching.